welcome back. So what we're doing today is we are going to try to overhaul this injection pump. This pump is off of that Mitsubishi D1800 tractor I had been trying to play with and repower, talk about repowering, trying to get that guy running. This is an ND Nippon Denso. I'm going to read off those numbers. 094500-0992. That number, I'll put that number in the description. That number is what uniquely identifies this pump, and that's the number you need to order parts for this pump. So the good folks at Oregon Injection have set us up with plungers and barrels. Here's a full set too, you know, for the pump. O-rings and gaskets. These little copper gaskets. So we're going to tear into this pump and see how it works. I took the pump apart. I took the pump off because the tractor was running real strange. It would start and run just fine up to about 1500 RPM, and then it just it wouldn't advance past about 17 or 1800 RPM. At 1500 RPM, if you gave it more throttle, it would start missing and smoking and shaking, and the RPM would go up to, yeah, probably maybe a max of about 1800, and that just would not advance anymore. No matter how much fuel you gave it, it's like the shaking and the smoking and the missing would just be getting worse. The RPM wouldn't be going up. So I decided to take this pump out, and I'm not sure I have to. I'm not sure that was a necessary thing, but we're going to you know, just take it apart and see how it works. And while I'm in there, I'm going to overhaul it. Again, probably don't have to, but I'm a glutton for punishment. I've already done this. You got to know I've done this already just to make sure this is going to work out. But I'm going to show you how I did it. And I'm not going to sit here and say this is how it is done. I'm going to tell you this is how I did it. Okay? So a couple things to note up front. These two things that look like screws, these are not screws. Are we still recording? Yes, we are. These two things that look like Phillips head screws are not. They're just pins. And they have a flat portion right here, and they have this metal sort of bent up keeper that I've already bent down, because as I said, I've already done this. So you have a little keeper under here, and you have these pins that have this flat spot. All you do is, after you bend down this little keeper right here, you just turn the screw until the flat spot gets up to there on the pump. Okay, I'm going to turn this other one too. Just turn it around. There we go. Until the flat spot gets there. Now all you have to do is push in on these plungers a little bit, relieve that spring tension, and those pins are going to come out. I'm going to do that right now by simply kind of leaning it against the bench, like between my hip and the bench, just to pull that little pin out, and just push on the plunger a little bit. Pull that pin out. Come on. Oh crap! I dropped it. Hold on, I gotta find that pin. Where'd it go? I heard it. I know you're down there somewhere. Crap. There it is. Recovered it. It's just a pin. It's just a threaded, non-threaded, smooth pin. So we'll set that over here. And then see how this plunger, it has that little slot in it right there? That's where that pin was. I'm going to leave this one intact so you can kind of see it. But then this just pulls out. Okay? And there's a little shim in there that doesn't do anything for you. That we're not going to mess with that. We're just going to put that right back in there, set that down, and then we can pull the whole. That is the plunger. We'll pull the spring out. This is the plunger, and this little cap retainer clip. Okay. And then what's left in there, my screen keeps going dark on my camera. Stand by. Alright, I'm kind of fighting with a new camera here, so I got new features to worry about. Anyway, so we have the piston out, and we're going to pull the plunger out. It's right inside there. It has those two little, I'm trying to hold this so you can see it. It has those two little ears. I'm going to take a tiny pair of forceps, and it just pulls out. Oh, there's also a spacer under there kind of fighting with me. Let me get that spacer out. This is the spacer that goes on the bottom of the spring. I'm going to come around this other way. I can't see what I'm doing. So we got to get that spacer out of there. Okay. So we'll just kind of pull this out. There it is. It's just a tight fit in there, that's all. Come on. Yeah, tight fit. Irritating. There we go. That spacer comes out. That's the one that sits, that the spring sits on. And then we pull that little gear out. It's a gear. This guy. And right here is a timing mark. Okay? Right there is a timing mark. Okay, keep note that the timing mark was facing down toward, opposite the inlet. Okay, timing mark is facing toward the rack. Okay, that's a timing mark. That's important. That'll come clear a little bit later. Now we come up to the top, and we have our, I forget what those are called, discharge valves. There's check valves in here. These are supposed to be much tighter, but again, I just did this. They just unscrew. Now you want to keep the thing straight up and down, and I'll show you why in just a second. As you pull this out, just thread it out and pull it straight up. Okay. There's a little O-ring on there, and I don't think there's any shims in there. Nah, there's no shims in there. You have a spring, and this is important right here. This is part of the distribution valve. That's the check valve that keeps your fuel in the fuel line. And then there's a copper gasket. And then that's the base part of the check valve. It has a little rim down there. That goes down into the pump. Okay? So now I believe this comes out the top. There it goes. Wow. Okay, it just kind of fell out of there. This is the barrel. Okay. Look how dirty it is right there. God, that's gross. So this is the thing. This is the sleeve. Is it sleeve or barrel? I don't remember what to call it. That's the thing that the piston slides up and down in. As your pump is delivering fuel, this is what it's doing. This is the inlet to the pump. And how the volume is determined is, can you see it as I'm turning that? Can you see in that hole where there's a thing that's opening and closing? That's me turning this piston, and that's how your fuel is, shut off and full on. That's how the fuel is metered into the pump. Now we're going to take this other top off just for a moment, and I'm going to show you something that's really important. I'm just going to set these other parts over here so I don't get them intermingled, although I believe they're probably interchangeable. I'm going to set this distribution valve stuff over there. Okay, now, where's my flashlight? Can you see in there there's like a D shape, there's a flat shape cut into the top of the piston. You're looking at this part of the piston. You're looking at the top there. That D shape is facing away from the inlet. This is the fuel inlet. That D, the flat part of the D, is away from the inlet. Keep that in mind. That's important. All right, we're just gonna set that stuff over there. We're gonna clean this out. Something to clean it out with. Set this onto some towels. I'm just going to spray this out on the inside there. Make it all nice and clean. Clean that. Yeah. Clean that. Clean. Okay. That's all nice and clean in there now. All right. We're going to turn it over this side so that the rack is on top. And I'm going to show you how the timing works. Now we're going to put the pump back together. Okay. So here's the kit that I got from Oregon Injection. This is a Denso Element 090150-1322. Okay, I will put that information in the description so you know what part number is the one you're looking for. This is how it comes brand new out of the container. Look at that, brand new stuff. So here is the new sleeve and the new piston. That's pretty cool, huh? I think it is. Alright, so now take note of, let's see, I need to show you this part. Inside, where's my flashlight? There it is. Inside there's a little tab kind of on the bottom. It's a key. Okay, and we have a keyway in the sleeve. Where is it? Where's my keyway? There it is. That's the keyway in the sleeve right there. We need to line that up with the key. It's down here. It's on the bottom. There's a little key that sticks out right there. Shine my light in there one more time. Okay. So we need to line up the barrel, the cylinder, with that key because that's the inlet of the pump. Okay. And I'm just keeping everything in there. I may have to take the piston out, but we're going to try to keep it in there, see how it goes. So we're just going to drop it in. Trying to keep everything lined up there. It didn't go all the way in, did it? We just have to make sure it's lined up. I'm just kind of pushing it around with my fingers in the hopes that I line that hole up. Come on. I'm not on it anymore. Let me line myself back up. So there's the keyway. Let's do this way. We'll put the keyway. The key is now facing up. Okay, we're going to put the key up with the hole facing toward me. That's not going in. Why? I'm not lined up. There we go. Just fell into place. Right there. That's lined up. Okay. Now I know I am going to have to take that piston out. We're going to leave the top part of this open for now. Okay. So now here's an important part. So, well, there goes the piston. Okay. So my keyway's lined up on here. How do I install the piston? So here's the inlet of the pump. We install the piston so that this part of it, this gouge, this cut, faces the inlet of the pump, faces up. So, dang it, the barrel just fell out. Alright, come on, get back in there. I wanted to leave it out, leave the top of it apart to show something. Dang it, hold on, bear with me, I'll get this. There's my little mark, or there's a little tab, key, whatever. There. Nope, didn't get it. Come on, get on there. My little thing fell off, it's the keyway. So now I gotta line it back up. That's a little bit tricky. Oh, come on. I know you wanna. Now I'm just kind of hoping it'll land on it again. My God. I'm not doing so well here. I'm not coming across as very knowledgeable. That's probably accurate. I'm not very knowledgeable. Did it do it? There we go. Now we're in. So just for now, we're just going to sit this on top of here, just so that doesn't come out of there again. Okay. So let's go back to this piston. Okay. What am I doing? Here's the inlet. By the way, this is old and new. Very hard to tell the difference. I'm not entirely certain there is a difference. I'm not entirely certain all this work needed to be done. But anyway, so we have the inlet of the pump, we have the slot on the piston, slot goes like this toward the inlet of the pump. Actually, we missed a step. Let's finish the right step. Got to put this guy on. So this, alright, remember when I said I had a timing mark right here, that little dot right there? There's also a little, like a dot looking thing right here, but we ignore that. Flip it over. It's the one closest to the teeth that we want to pay attention to. And how we want to do this, man, this is going to be almost impossible to show you. So if you move the lever all the way over to the right, you can actually see the timing mark in there. It's right on top. I have a hard time showing you on the camera, but move the lever to the right, not against the spring, just move it just to the right, right up to the spring, and that timing mark is right on top. You got to get a flashlight. Part of it fell apart. You got to get a flashlight in there to see it, but it's there. It's right on top, and that mark you have to line up with this mark. This mark. Okay? So the only way I know how to do this is to just kind of drop it in there and see if it landed right. And I can tell right away that it did not. I'm off. So then all you got to do is just simply move it until it gets in the right place. I think... Nope, I'm off. Those little tabs should be straight across. That looks pretty good. Yep, I'm on. So there's really no way for me to show you this on camera. All I can show you is that with this thing all the way over, the slot goes straight up and down. Okay? So let's turn this back over, and we want the piston's going to go in like this. Excuse me, like this. Let's try the new piston. This is the new one. The new one is going to go in like this. And we want the slot facing upwards. So you just drop the piston in, and it's a real tight fit. This one still has some lube on it from organ injection. And then I'm going to clean off this piece before I stuck. This is the piece that goes under the spring. Clean that off. Okay. Make it nice and clean. And put it in there like that. And this has to kind of get tapped down into place. There. That's tapped down into place. Then you put the spring on. Put this back on here. And the spring should sit slightly shy of the surface. Did you see that little click when it went in? That's the spring going in the right position. It's slightly shy of this surface. That's how you know it's in there in the right way. Now, this is the tricky... Actually, I skipped another step. We have to pull this piston out a little bit. And then put this spring in, again with the click, because we have to put this thing on, this little collar. That slips in. I'm going to wash this off. This little collar right here, retainer or clip, whatever you want to call it, goes on the piston. And then that pushes down into here. And this surface should be pretty close flush. That's how we know that's in there correctly. And then we put our plunger back in, our roller, with our, let me clean that off. A lot of cleaning up. This certainly does look like a shim, and I don't know if that has anything to do with timing. So we're going to put that right there. And we put this roller in so the slot faces up where this goofy little pin was. Okay? And we just set it in there, push it in. Now I have to, I'm going to put this together the same way I took it apart. I'm going to lean against this, push it in a little bit, and push the pin in. What happens sometimes is that it won't go in all the way because the piston has rotated. If the piston rotates while you're putting all this together, this will not go in right. But if it goes in right, then you're golden. So I'm just going to move it over here. Oh, see, mine didn't go in right. So now, let's take this back off and have a look and see what went wrong. I'm not seeing what went wrong. So I can see, by looking in there at the shape of the D, I can see that it's not in there right. There it is. It's hard to show you this crap. Alright, welcome back. So, we're back to putting this together. It kind of fell apart on me a moment ago, so I had to put it back together off camera. So we're going to put this plunger back in. I'm going to just set the pin in there, and then just push on the plunger. And sometimes it gets stuck like that, and if you just move the rack back and forth a little bit, it might go in, but it's not going in. Let's see if we can figure out why. Oh, come on. Just went in a second ago, I swear. You can do this 1,000 times off camera, and it'll work just fine. There. It just, I almost had it. I'm just moving the rack while I'm pushing on this thing. There it goes. Hoping it lines up so I can get the silly pin in place. There it goes. And then we turn it. So then that pin where the flat spot is against this, then we'll fold up this keeper right here, and the pin stays in place right there, and we're done with the bottom of this. Now we go to the top. Okay. And assembly is the reverse of the removal. We're just going to take that, it goes in there. Okay. This is the distribution valve, the check valve. And then, I forgot the my O-rings, gaskets, copper gaskets. Put these new parts up here so I can see them clearly. This is kind of squirrely right here. That does move around quite a bit. And here's the copper. The copper sets on top of there. Get on there. Okay, and this is all just flopping around, so you have to hold the thing straight up and down and set the spring. Dang it, I forgot to put the new O-ring on. Take this O-ring off of here. Come on, there you go. Just take that right off. That goes in the trash. New O-ring. Put it on here. We'll go back to this. Kind of setting this up so that this thing is in the middle. Well, the distribution valve will center itself inside here, but the closer you can start it in the middle, the better off you are. And you put this little spring on top of here, and you put this on top of here. And you torque this down. We'll give this a little touch with the wrench. Now, of course, you want to put put some little bit more torque on that, but that's how I'm doing these. And that's how we get those done. So we're just going to do the other side, and then we're going to put it in the tractor. Stay tuned. Okay, welcome back. The other side is done. We have our, I forgot to set my little pins right. We have our little screws. They're not screws, they're pins. And I need to grab a pair of pliers to put those back to where they were. Maybe I need to get a screwdriver or something under there. There they go. Just kind of fold those back up. Okay. That one is not cooperating with me. Let me get something under there first. It's not very straight, is it? There we go. Okay. All right. And we want to put on our fuel inlet. So before we put this on the tractor, we're going to talk for a second about timing. So this thing sits in the engine block, has 4 screws that screw it in, fuel inlet goes something like that, and there's a cam that pushes against these two that actually do the pumping. There's a gasket, on this engine there's a gasket, a fiber gasket that went here. I did my best to clean all that off. I didn't get it all perfectly clean. I may take a little second to clean that off a little bit better. But there's a gasket that goes on here, and that determines like the spacing between, this is greatly exaggerated, the spacing between the engine block and the pump. And that spacing is what determines this pump's timing. It's like a fine-tuning, I guess, of the timing. The gasket that was in there was 50 thousandths, 0.050, and the gasket that's going in there, let's see, which one of these is it? I think it's this one. The gasket that's going in, I'm going to get a thing to measure this thing real quick to show you. Where's my measurer? There it is. Boy, that thing just kind of broke, didn't it? Let's see, let's turn this guy on. That's zeroed out. So this material is 0.015. So the old material, the old thickness of the old gasket that came out of here was 050. So if I make 4 gaskets out of this material, that's going to get me to 0.060. That's going to space it out a little bit more. If I use 3 thicknesses of this gasket, that's going to put me at 0.045, which is very close to where the thing was before. So I read in one of the tractor forums somewhere, and you know everything you read on forums is true, that every 0.004 inch of thickness the material is, that represents 1 degree of timing. So if my original gasket was 0.050, and if I make a gasket out of 3 of these, and that puts me at 0.045, that puts me 0.005 closer to the engine, because the gasket is 0.005, 5 thousandths of an inch thinner. That's going to give me 1 degree of advance. At least I think it's advance. I'm assuming that putting the pump closer to the engine gives me advance. That should give me 1 degree of advance. In other words, that's going to put me real close to where I was, but I'm only going to have 1 degree. So I'm not sure, if after I put all this together with 3 gaskets made out of this material, I'm not sure that's going to show an appreciable difference. That should put me in exactly the same place as I was before, which is a fine place to be. Anyway, stay tuned. Alright, welcome back. I live on a busy street. We're going to hear some traffic. Anyway, what I've done here, see if I can show you. I put the pump on, and you can't really see it because the light isn't so good. But these are the injector lines. The pump is in there. I have 3 gaskets under this pump. So theoretically, that pump is in pretty close to the same position it was before. I have my fuel on. I've primed it. And all I'm going to do now is turn it over and let fuel come out of here just to kind of flush out the lines. I have the injectors unplugged as well, loosened up to give the engine an easier time to turn. I'm going to go full fuel on the lever, and we're just going to turn it over until we see fuel come out of there. There it goes. flush it out a little bit. Okay, I'm going to turn it into shut off and make sure the fuel shuts off. It does. Okay, stand by. All right, here we go. I got the injectors tightened up, and we're going to give it a shot. Let's set it at about half fueling. We're going to turn on the glow plugs for 30 seconds. Glow plugs are on. We're just going to leave them on for a few seconds because it is kind of cold. Well, it's not cold now, but it got cold last night. That block is probably a little bit cold. And oh, I don't know. That's probably okay right there. Let's give it a go. There we go. She's a runner. So, as it turns out, it's doing the exact same thing it was doing before. And that's where it's running up to about 1500, seems to run okay up to about 1500. And as soon as you advance it past 1500, it stumbles. Let me see if I can show you. I gotta make that adjustment. There we go. Yep, anyhow, that's all for today. I think I may have some valve float issues or something. I'm not real sure. But at least I got this running so I can get it out of the way so I can start working on that. Anyway, thanks for watching. Stay tuned.